Welcome to the Devoted Way podcast, all about magic and miracles with me, Sora Schilling. It's time to hone in on your intuition, become artful, respectful, and nuanced with your relationship with energy, and live life based on your design. Your unique blueprint encoded with stardust from the ethereal realm and blood from those that have come before you. You know what to do and how to be, so trust in yourself. All right, welcome, Divine Ones, to another Devoted Way podcast. Today, we have a guest, which is so exciting. Typically, we don't have as many guests as we usually do, and I have been waiting for this. I know that Cassandra has been kind of navigating the world of dates while I've been away. And so I'm really grateful that you were able to create some time and space for me. And there's a lot going on in her life. And so I'm really excited to dive into that, because I also believe that what's happening in our daily lives is very helpful in understanding ourselves as a human being in entrepreneurship land. And so I'm really excited about that. So before we begin, I'm going to share Cassandra's short bio. And so here we go. So, Cassandra is a first generation Vietnamese American immigrant living in Spain. She works as a marketing consultant and multicultural creator and believes business and marketing can be fun and be used as a tool to dismantle systems of oppression. Yay. For 13 plus years, Cassandra has been creating content across all mediums, written, graphics, audio, video, photo, etc. And through her business, the Quirky Pineapple Studio, which I have always loved the name, by the way, Cassandra, she and her team have worked with mission-driven brands and thought leaders around the world in English and Spanish, helping them to share their story, connect with their community, and drive brand awareness with content marketing that is enjoyable and anti-oppressive. When she's not writing or marketing, you can find her searching for the best bubble tea spot in town. I also love boba, picking up a creative hobby and trying to learn stick shift so she can get her Spanish license. Oh my goodness. Wait a second. Can we go there first? Because I've never learned stick shift and I have always wanted to. And I know if you're not in the States, it's something that most people do know. How is that journey?
Let's say I've been on it for 3 years and I have to start from zero. So I have my driver's license. Well, first, hi everyone. Hi, sorry. Thank you for having me on this podcast. So I have my driver's license in the United States, but since moving here to Spain, I have to start from zero again. And I could get a driver's license knowing how to drive automatic, but then my driver's license would only say that I'm only allowed to drive automatic. And we have a stick shift car, and all of my friends have stick shift cars. So I was like, well, this is just still pointless and useless if I have an automatic driver's license. So I have to start from zero. I am learning the theory. So I'm learning like the signs in Spanish, I'm learning the rules. And then once I pass that, because I'm not even at the like, what is it called? Driver's
Driving.
ed. Yeah, I'm not
Right.
there yet. Once I pass the theory, then I can get into driver's ed and actually learn how to drive stick shift. I'm like still in the beginning stages.
I
It's a
love it.
process.
Could I ask you a creative question based on that?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering then, just from you and your personality and knowing you then, in let's say the driver's ed process, there's like a particular thing you have to do. You have to understand the foundation, you have to understand the rules. You then have to like have like one phase into the next until you're finally out there in the road. Is that the way how you that is that the way that you create content, the way you've run your business? Like, is that also the way that you do things, or would you try to do it all differently, possibly even
Oh, great
backwards?
question. I am definitely one of those people. I guess the best way to describe it is if you've ever bought IKEA furniture, I don't read instructions. I am more of a learn as I go. So I will always jump into something and kind of just like be on the fly, learning and doing at the same time. And gradually, my brain will start to understand like the foundations and why it's important. But I am definitely a doer first and then piece it together later. So this process has been really hard. And also the fact that I'm doing it in Spanish is like an extra layer of hard. So that's why it's taken me like 3 years. Well, it's taken me 3 years, as in I'm still on the process, and it's been 3 years.
Totally. It's not that you've consistently every day dedicated your time and space to be able
Uh,
to stick, drive stick.
no. I'm taking tests though. So I'm taking like these little practice tests where I'm like learning about the signs and I don't know, learning about kilometers per hour, which is also something different for me. So that's this whole process.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for just entertaining me in this
Yeah.
because now I'm thinking about my own driving experience
Oh
and what
gosh.
that's like. And so, but let's go back to this idea of do first and then kind of figure things out because I do know that you are on a sabbatical.
Yes.
Was there a do first and then consider later that happened with that?
Yeah, so the sabbatical was also now you all will know that I love planning. Let me just preface disclaimer for everybody listening. I am avid planner. Uh, but I do first. So there's that. So the unplanned accidental, what I am calling my accidental sabbatical, started in March, I believe. And I kind of thought about it. Like it was an idea, maybe not the sabbatical, but the process of maybe stopping contracts with clients and maybe kind of like reconfiguring the business. It was something that I had been already thinking about, something that like I was kind of workshopping. And I was kind of just like waiting for the right moment to do it. Back in March of this year, if you're listening 2024, I flew home and my grandma passed away. So I had to like really support my family. My like both my sister and I, who my sister lives in California, we both flew in because originally we had a family wedding to attend for a cousin, and then my grandma passed away the week prior, and it was just like a string of familial events that I was very grateful to be able to go and like support my family for. And then during that string of events and seeing like how interconnected death is, I realized, oh, I really do need to change like my business model. Something in my life is not working. I do not want to do this anymore. And probably in my unprocessed grief, to be honest, I was just like, okay, we're just gonna let go of all the clients and I told my partner, and he was like, okay, if that's what you really want to do, I support you. I just want to know how you're going to make money. And I was like, I don't know yet, but I'm going to let them go. And whatever comes in, I'll just take here and there. Um, and then it's just been like that since March.
And
Yeah.
what have you so far have experienced or learned from this? Like, we
Oh,
understand that the experiences that happened, and so honoring that in the family time and the grief and the mourning and the celebration. And so there's the duality of both that was happening too there with the marriage as well. And
yeah.
then saying, this is what I'm going to do, and having an incredible partner to be like, oh, okay. And then going through that process and now being in it for a couple of months, what are you now noticing?
Um, so I have noticed that nothing matters. I don't know if that's like the best way to say it, but nothing matters. Everything is fake and everything's a lie. That sounds really negative, but not really. Mainly because I think blowing up my business or taking this accidental sabbatical kind of just taught me like you literally can do whatever you want. Um, it may just be a little bit more challenging because you're kind of like creating a new path, but if you stick with it, and to me, it has been very rewarding to be able to do this, a little bit stressful at times, um, but still very rewarding. It just really taught me that, like, oh, all these rules that people tell me that I have to do something or I have to show up this way, or you have to market this way, or even have to like live your life this way. Um, it's really all fake, like absolutely fake. And that
Is
has
that
been like
not
my biggest,
liberating?
it's very liberating, kind of scary because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I can really do anything. And then that kind of started this whole process of me thinking, have I just been holding myself back this entire time because I can literally do anything and I've just been following these fake rules? And then it started going into like more excavation of what do I really want? What is my life? What do I want my life to look like? How do I want to show up in my relationships? How do I want to show up for myself? How do I want to spend my time? And that's kind of what life has looked like since March, just kind of figuring out, testing, tweaking, redoing, asking lots of questions.
Relearning,
Yeah, relearning
deconditioning,
all
right?
of
Like there,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, I had a 1 month sabbatical that was not planned, but also I had deeply known that I needed a break.
Mm.
And I told myself I couldn't, right? And it was the divine grace of a whole slew of people that I was in community with who sat down with me asking me questions around why couldn't I? And within a
Mm.
week's time, I took that break.
Oh,
And
wow.
exactly in that, I felt the same. But then I've got back into the old paradigm, right? But in that month, I recognized again, nothing is real. Like you
Yeah.
said, the construct I had put myself in was so limiting. And I was just doing these day to day things for what reason and what purpose? Not that my clients don't matter, but the way in which I was actually engaging in my own life. I was like,
Mm.
why? And so I did sleep a lot. I was able to enjoy myself, and it gave me a whole different perspective of how I wanted to serve. And so I do believe having a sabbatical, whether you can manage a month, a day, you not even, I think you need a little bit more than that
I do
actually
think you
to
need a little bit more than a
decondition
day.
it.
Yeah.
I do think 30 days really, it was towards the end where I was like, oh, I get this. I get why people do this. Right. And so I was just in the start of it, but I look forward to having, let's say, a year of exploration in it. And I
Oh,
love what you said, which is if nothing is real, I can live in a different paradigm. I don't have to follow the rules. What are even the rules? Um, I can just do things my way, a different way. And you touched upon even in anything, including marketing, right?
yeah.
And I know that's already something that you were deeply committed to, which is you don't have to follow things and you don't have to succumb to the way things are. But I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how we can say that and understand it in a conceptual way, but how do we actually decondition our own way of reacting and our patterns of behavior that still is basically modeling what other people are doing out there in the world?
Oh gosh. Oh, where do I even start? Um, I do feel like to actually start deconditioning and kind of like reconstructing how you do something. I'm going to use marketing as an example because I'm not a life person coach. So I will talk about it in terms of marketing. Um, I do think it requires you to build in time into your schedule and also space. Whether that could be like a physical space where you like are dedicating to work and like this is like your thinking area or like your creative play area or something like that, or even like white space in your calendar where you don't have anything to do and you kind of just sit there bored. Um, I feel like to really start deconstructing, you need that because without it, you end up kind of just like being in this cycle or this routine that you can't really break from. And then you just start feeling like overwhelmed and things become unsustainable and you can't unplug because like the weight of the world or your business is on your shoulders. So if there is a way to build in time and space, and this could be through like, this is very technical now, but like setting up systems or like processes for your marketing, setting up templates or something like that, so that you can kind of like unplug and build space. I think that is probably like the best way. And then once you've done that, I think this is where I like to go into understanding like your identity and like your culture and who you are as a person, and what your values are, and then build on that.
You said something that I'm really curious about, and I can already feel myself being like, oh, I wonder if I can do a personal exploration for myself, which is the thing that we know that we have kind of lost, which is the word boring. We don't know
Oh,
how to be bored.
yeah. No, I really don't know how to be bored either. I don't know if you know how to be bored, but today I didn't have much to do and I kind of just like walked around and was like, so should I change? Should I shower? I don't know. I need to do something.
Yes. And growing up, we grew up around in the same age group. And so we knew how to be bored. Like I
Yeah.
remember sitting for hours, just sitting because I was waiting for my parents because they were working or whatnot, or I would read a book, but that was about it. I'd be looking around and I was so satiated. There was nothing that I needed to necessarily do. And I would go into dream space and, things like that. And now, anytime I feel even an inclination of boredom, it's like I have ants in my pants. I don't know what to actually do with it. And I do wonder if we can be more bored, if there'd be so much more magic in that, in understanding ourselves and yeah, being in that new paradigm.
Yeah, I feel like yes. My my response is I think probably. I do think we might be scared to be bored. Uh, this is just from like years of me journaling, but I remember when I was really scared to be bored because um the thoughts that I didn't want to have would creep up and then I didn't know what to do with them. So then, now I just grab my phone and I'm on TikTok and like I'm brain rotting, I guess is the term that Gen Z is saying, brain rot. Um, but I do that a lot. And then now that I've cultivated like this journaling practice, I think it's helped to work through that. Um, and it's also helped me kind of like recognize, oh, why am I grabbing my phone? Why am I doom scrolling? Um, Maybe I do need to kind of like pause for at least 5 minutes. If I can't do 10, let's do five. And if I can't do five, let's do like two, 2 minutes, and then kind of
Absolutely.
like go from there. But it's hard for me to be bored too. Some days I'm better at it than others, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, let's just scroll on TikTok for 3 hours.
I'm so glad that we can be really honest about it, right? And I am curious around, I heard someone share. And I think it was actually Glennon Doyle and Abby Wallbeck were having a conversation. And one's an introvert, one's an extrovert. I don't know if this is particularly per se, but um, basically Glennon was saying, I'm fine. I'm actually never, or one of them was saying, I'm actually never scared of my thoughts. I can be with them in the quietness. Whereas the other one was saying, no, actually being in the boredom is what creates the fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, and so I'm just curious around. I wonder, for me, the boredom doesn't feel that scary in that way. It feels as if my programming has told me I should always be doing something. And so I can't give myself permission. So the ants in the pants is more like, oh, but this is wrong. This is wrong of me to do. But I do know that there are a lot of people who, what do you mean be quiet and not do something? Like that's when all the thoughts happen. I don't want
Yeah.
all the thoughts. And so I think it's so interesting that it could be for different reasons. And then, of course, if there's something going on and I don't want to look at it, I don't want to be in quiet because then I would have to think about it. And that's scary for sure. I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
I think I am the same way. So I'm like sometimes I'm good at being bored and other times I'm not. I know that I am not particularly scared of my thoughts. Um, like if it comes up, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, where'd that come from?" But then it's more like, "Oh, I'm curious about it. Where did that actually come from and why am I thinking things like that?" But I do know like my sister, for example, she I think is scared of her thoughts, which at least is what she's told me.
Yeah.
Um, but similar to you, I get the feeling of guilt, I think, that I'm not doing something or I'm not using my time wisely, or I could be getting ahead so that I can have time to rest. That type of like thinking definitely trips me up a lot. So I kind of like pace. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I can like wash the dishes or I don't know. I think, oh, let me do like house chores if I can't like find something to do in work. Um, so that fills my time a lot.
Mm. Are you finding that you're slightly filling it with other creative expression? Like what
Now,
else is
yes.
what else is being birthed now into your space from or created inside of the space of sabbatical?
Lots of things. So I'm trying not to fill my time with work or busy work. I still do like the house chores, so now I have like a semi-routine to keep up with that. But I am actively trying to force myself to do other creative hobbies or physical, I guess, hobbies. I am
Right, like you're
enrolled in,
running.
yes, I am running. I've only gone running like 4 times, so I'm trying to run more. My goal is to eventually run a half marathon. We'll see. I don't know if you've seen all of the millennials on TikTok or Instagram that we all picked up running and we all do marathons now.
Did not see that.
Okay, but that's my timeline. Everybody's doing a marathon these days. So I decided I'm gonna do a marathon too. I'm enrolled in ceramics class, so that's really exciting. I started a YouTube channel just to like
Yes.
do like video storytelling, and this sounds like I'm doing a lot. And I'm starting a stationery store.
I love that.
Yeah,
That
lots
is
of random
beautiful.
things.
Yes. I often find that those that take a sabbatical end up honoring their creative side, whether they knew they were quote creative and artistic or not. Some kind of go back to things that they've done, or others just pick up something and are like, I don't know if I'm really good at this, but I just kind of want to do it. And so giving yourself that permission to honor that. And I wonder, while you're doing it, you have been documenting it. And so there is a marketing component. Maybe you're not, quote, selling something, but you are coming on and allowing us to view you and your life. And so, can you even share with folks how they could have permission to do that? Like, it doesn't have to just be strategy and a launch method, and that it could be pure joy and expression and curiosity around just what's happening.
Yeah. So I am not selling anything. Now this is making me think maybe I should be because remember, unplanned sabbatical, did not plan for
Unplanned
this
sabbatical,
financially.
exactly.
Should be selling. But I do feel like I'm just making things for me. And I have like this creative itch. So because I do marketing and I've let go of majority of our clients and just have like things here and there, a lot of my creative energy was being put into clients in the beginning. And it caused this almost like, I don't know what it's called, like riff in between my work and like who I am, because I was like, oh my gosh, I am doing all this work and I am giving all of my creative ideas to my clients. This is not their fault, but it was me just like not having a creative outlet for myself, giving all of my awesome, my interpretation, my opinion, awesome creative ideas to my clients. And I was like, oh, they get like the best of me. And what am I giving to myself? Which was nothing. Because by the time I finished doing all of the creative work in work, um, I needed to brain rot because I was so tired of output. So now I get to just do it for me and play, I guess, and do things with my hands again. I like documenting it because I have been creating for a long time, like digitally since I was probably 13 years old. So it's kind of just natural for me. And also I kind of think, oh, well, I would like to have like I don't know if me sharing this will spark conversation, but I would like to have more conversations with people who could be thinking about something like this or have gone through grief or have gone through an accidental sabbatical or are thinking of an accidental sabbatical or kind of like reinventing their identity. I need to talk to somebody about it. So that's why I'm creating it so that somebody will message me and be like, "Hey, thanks for sharing this because I really want to talk to somebody about it and then I can talk to them about it too."
Yeah. I love the heart expression of what you're saying, which is you're doing this One, because you have had a really long time since the age of 13, kind of documenting life and expression in that way, but also one, you get to see the reflection of your journey, and hopefully it sparks conversation so that you can have some meaningful conversations with others who are either interested, want to know more about your own personal experience, or they've gone through it. Because you're right, I always find when someone else has gone through something, there's so much in there that I get to not necessarily learn, but I can feel like I'm not alone in that process. And so I get that. And I'm wondering, could you maybe give a little words of encouragement or suggestions for those who are like, I hate marketing? When we think about it in this way, it feels so nourishing. Like, what if I'm sharing me because I want to have conversations with others who might also be going through the thing? And why would that not be such a great avenue through
Yeah.
our socials or through our emails or whatnot? So, can you have some sort of encouragement for
Yeah.
them?
Yes. Okay. So I think I was talking about this in September. So I hosted like a marketing challenge on my YouTube channel, and this concept came up of I understand why like a lot of people hate marketing. A lot of my clients also hate it. So they think like it's sleazy. They think like they're selling themselves out or selling their soul. How marketing is now, it feels like you have to sell your soul or commoditize your life to sell or be liked. And I get it. But I guess how I approach marketing is that it is a tool. So it is a tool basically for you, for your business to thrive. And what I believe, I'm sure people within your community, they started their business so that they could, so that their business basically fuels their dream lifestyle, right? Like as small business owners, we want to do something different. We feel like, okay, this is going to help me live this dream that I want. This is going to help me like have that time to spend with family or share my expertise or just bring, I don't know, joy or whatever to somebody else. And marketing is the tool to help your business thrive. So if we think about it like that, why would we be scared of marketing? Because it is the tool, whatever tool, like however you want to shape it, it is your tool to help your business, which then your business helps you live the life that you want to live. And that has helped me, I guess. It's also helped my clients kind of think, oh, so it's not scary. And also you can do marketing however you want. You do not need to sell your soul. I think what you said really sums it up. It's like a conversation that you can have with people. How you market, you can, instead of like pushing things onto people or feeling forced to do something, you can approach it like a conversation, like, hey, I'm going to open the doors to this. Um, let's see who feels called and like responds. That response could be a comment, a like, a share. It could be a DM asking how to work together. That conversation can go in so many different ways. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It
that's kind
does.
of how I imagine. Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. I have some weekly post, and one of the posts last week in my community was about how what are some questions that you're having when it comes to your business. And there were so many folks who are doing the things. They are reaching out. They are doing some marketing. They have their funnels going. There's all this stuff that they're doing. And their question still is, which makes sense for us as business owners, which is, what how do I market? Like, what in the world is marketing, and how do I get my client? I mean, I feel like it's so self-explanatory, but yet not. And I feel like I'm doing the things, yet it's not working. So
Yeah.
what in the world is going on? And so if that was posed to you, what would you say to my divine community members that are like, I don't help?
Um, so sometimes marketing doesn't work. I will just say that. And as somebody who does marketing for a living, there have been many times where I've designed campaigns for myself. I've done all of the like checklists and the best practices, and it does not work for my business. I've done it for my clients, and it also did not work for their business. So it's a lot of like trial and error trying to see what works best. Um, I do think probably just thinking about it as like building a relationship and I guess like not icebreaker, but imagine like you're at an event, it could be a small one or a big one, and you just want to talk to somebody. So your marketing is just the conversation starter. Like, what can you do to start that conversation? And I think a lot of the times people get really tripped up on, oh, I need to start a conversation with 100 people. Um, that's a lot. I don't know if you could have 100 conversations at the same time. I cannot. So maybe just thinking about it as like, how can I start a conversation with one? And then build on top of that. I think email is a really good way to start with a conversation of one, or even just like one person, like a referral or somebody that you've been chatting with in the DMs. That's really easy. And then if you want to take it to like social media, which is like a conversation with many, still think about that one person and what is like the superhuman thing that you can talk about, like superhuman experience, not like very niche content. I feel like right now what's happening is we see a lot of people talking about like Gilmore Girls because it's fall or pumpkin spice lattes. And yes, that stuff kind of works. Like it does to kind of get like easy engagement, easy conversation starting. But what is like the true human experience that you can touch on in your marketing that really opens that conversation? Like if you're talking about Gilmore Girls, yes, Rory and maybe her and Jesse should have been together. If you are a Gilmore Girls fan, I think she really messed that one up.
I think so
Um,
too, personally,
yeah.
but keep going.
But what is like that emotion that Rory has, or what is the feeling that she has? Can you start with that instead of being like, okay, is it Jesse versus Dean versus what is the other one? The
Oh,
Princeton
I don't
one?
even remember the one.
Logan?
Logan. I was gonna say Luke, but I was like, it's not Luke. That's what.
No, it's not Luke. Can't be Luke. Instead of having that, maybe talk about, oh, what is the feeling? And maybe that will have like a deeper impact, I think.
Yeah. You, I'm so grateful that you expressed that part because, and it's not as if people are realizing that they're doing it, but in my community, I often see folks either go into more of the here are the top three tips, or here are the five things that you should do. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, or they go into very much. It feels like they're talking deeply about themselves, but it is so broad
Mm.
and there's a lot of spiritual words woven in together. I still don't feel them. I don't know them. I don't know what they're actually talking about. So if they're like, I'm going through this death process of my self identity, I'm like, I get it, but I don't really, because I don't know how, I don't have any specific details of your life. And I don't mean that you have to share everything,
Yeah.
but there is what you're saying, that humanness, because I do feel like in marketing, the reason people are going to enter and say yes is because they finally start getting to know you. Like you
Yeah.
said, the getting to know one another. I'm not going to meet someone new, like if I met you, Cassandra, for the first time and simply be like, and not have me involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I find that's the part that's the most, that's the block that people have.
Oh, I have a good
Yeah.
analogy for this.
Yes.
So this is something that a lot of our clients struggle with. Like let's say sharing their stories. I mean, use that example. A lot of people online say, share your story, be vulnerable, be authentic. Fabulous. What does that mean? I have no idea. I have no idea what that means when people say it. So some like this analogy that I usually tell clients is in the terms of sharing your story. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but when I was in middle school and the class was really quiet and I had a tickle in my throat and I really needed to cough, I was really scared to cough because I was like, the class is quiet. I don't want all eyes on me. I'm like disturbing the peace. So I held in that cough. And of course, when you hold in a cough, it's just like 10 times worse. Your face starts getting red. You're like kind of choking on your own, I don't know, air, spit. And you're like actually having physical reactions because you're like, "Bleh, bleh." you all are probably listening to this like, what is she talking about? But that is kind of what I believe happens when you hold in stories. So I guess that is like a universal example that a lot of people might be able to relate to. And I can take that universal example and bring it into a personal example. So I can talk about like, oh yeah, you all, I don't know if you've had this experience, but you have this tickle in your throat, you have a cough, you want to let it out, but you're scared because you're scared of disturbing the peace. People are going to stare at you. The teacher's going to yell at you because you coughed during the test, but you really need to let it out. And that is what I believe like happens to us in our stories. Like it's that cough in your throat that you really need to let out. Um, it will tickle you until you let it out. It will actually cause physical like reactions because you probably are feeling anger that you haven't said something. You probably get jealous because somebody said it before you. You probably are thinking, oh my gosh, people are overlooking me, and now you feel upset and sad. That's where I think our stories can really, shine. That's where I think you need to say something. So if you imagine it like that, I just shared like a whole monologue, but the example is I use a universal example that everybody can probably relate to, the tickle in the throat, the cough, and I related it back to you all and also to myself. Like I was really scared, like I didn't want to say something. And it wasn't until I actually coughed, thank the Lord, that I felt better and nobody cared. And it was okay. And now I've brought back like the personal story, if that makes sense. Now you kind of see like, oh yeah, like she's a human. Like
Yes.
I have experienced the cough, but I can totally see Cassandra like struggling with the cough. And then finally she coughs in the middle of the test and nobody says anything.
Yeah. I love that because often, well, there's two reasons. Number one, for myself at least, I noticed I grew up not being modeled storytelling. So having immigrant family members, I don't know if you have ever felt this. They don't actually, my parents never actually told stories.
Okay.
They didn't tell me what their life was like. And so I didn't grow up understanding the value nor how to tell a story. And so when it became turn for me to actually do it, I didn't know how to do it. It wasn't a skill that I had. And so I had to shift it. And then I would try to tell stories, but they were so long. They were like
Yeah.
very detailed about these things. And I was always trying to find the story that was making the most impact.
Mm,
And then it just felt like, it wasn't really true to me. I was just performing a story, and that didn't feel good either. And so, what you said is what I started doing, which was looking for micro moments and moments where either I was laughing because I was like, either that was funny or that was really ridiculous, or moments where I pondered, or moments where I was delighted by myself, being like, oh my God, that is so you, Sora. And so, these things that would happen, I would take just a small moment and talk about it and then did what you did, which was find a universal through line. Like, what is the message for me, but maybe it's for you? And then how could this support you? And then let's encourage you. And so
yeah.
I love that I basically, have learned to do Cassandra's model there, figured it out for myself in my own way.
Yeah.
But I find the micro moments has been so helpful.
Oh yeah. I that has happened to my clients too, where when they are storytelling, especially like to build personal brands or something, they end up oversharing and then they get super hit hard with vulnerability fatigue.
Yeah.
And by the time that they're done, they're like, I'm gonna need like 3 days.
Or
Um,
more, or never do
yeah.
this again. Yeah.
Yeah, like, can you come back in like 2 weeks? I've never told my story like that. I feel like I just word vomited. I don't know. And I'm like, oh, that was a lot. That was also a lot for me to like hold space for. And I'm happy and I'm like very appreciative that my clients have opened up to me in that way, but I understand like vulnerability fatigue is like a true thing. So I also agree with you, like the micro stories, I like to call them like petite stories. You don't have to tell people like when you were born to 13 years old. That's 13 years of you that you have to give someone in like 10 minutes. That's a lot. That is
Yeah.
a lot. So like you said, finding like the little things, like you could start with I don't know, if you're baking a cake, I don't need to know all of the 10 steps because I, as a consumer, will be overwhelmed. So if you just start with like the first step, that gets me hooked in, like pulling out the flour, finding the recipe from like your family cookbook. Why does it remind you of like a special moment in your childhood? That I'm in. Now I want to know how to make the cake. But now you've got me in for however long it takes you to explain how to make the cake. And by the time of your story, I'm in. I will buy the cookbook, whatever you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives a better understanding of you, right? Whether it's like in your quirky pineapple, your quirkiness, right? Or your soulfulness, or the reason you do what you do. And I love that everyone gets permission to share something that resonates, whether it's something very heartbreaking, something
Yeah.
that's deeply serious, something that is so funny that you might even pee in your pants because it's that funny. Like it really is up to you. But if we can have those, what you call petite moments, and it is, I feel like a skill, meaning as soon as you keep practicing it, you do get better and better. And then it becomes really easy to do. Would you say
Yeah.
so?
Oh, yeah. I feel like once you start practicing, you'll find so many micro moments in any part of your life, even during the day, that you'll be like, oh, I can string this into a story because everything technically is a story. And now you can kind of just pick and choose whatever you want to share. I always say, like, if you can, maybe write down like a list. This is if people want to start sharing more stories. Um, Write down a list of well, maybe two lists. All of your accomplishments and achievements. Doesn't have to be business related or professional. It could be like personal. And then write down a list of all of the things that piss you off. And within those lists, you will have so many stories to pull from. Because if you start asking, like, why does this piss you off? How did it start to piss you off? When did it start to piss you off? Why is this considered an accomplishment for you? Um, when did it happen? How long did it take for you to achieve it? Those are all like micro stories, and then you can even break it down even to like more stories.
Yeah, totally. And then on the other side, I look at micro stories I look at those too, because they will help others understand how it defines me. But then I also think about what are the stories that make me me, the
Mm.
quirkiness of me, right? So, like, because of Mr. Rogers and Neighborhood, I love banana with cheese.
Oh,
Or like,
that's
right,
very interesting.
right. Or that when I'm sitting and I don't realize it, but I'm really happy or content, especially when I'm eating, my feet start moving back and forth because
Oh,
I'm
I love
short.
that.
And so I can't actually, my feet don't touch the ground. And so my husband would be like, oh, Sora's really happy right. And I have no idea that I'm doing it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Or so like these little things, and so when I notice either my taste of things, my behaviors, or the way I say something, or just an encounter, I feel like I always try to write those down or remember it
Mm.
because it's, again, another great way of exploration or share.
Yeah.
Including even the other day, I was talking about I have rounded shoulders right now and a hump that I don't really enjoy, and I like body shame around, but also what I'm learning from it too. And so the vulnerability of things like that. But that's a small moment of something that occurred that brought that forward for that day. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I love your considerations.
Yeah, all of these things that you mentioned are just like they're not marketing tricks or tactics. It's really just very human.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
this is just me living life, and I'm just finding little moments that I think you can resonate with, or maybe somebody else can relate to, and just sharing them.
Yeah.
And it ends up being marketing. Um, but it's like we said, mostly storytelling and
Yes.
building relationships.
I wonder if there's a way that we can simply remind ourselves that of building relationships, storytelling, and the humanness, because how often I don't know about you, but myself and I know my community members, we remember these, but then we see everything happening and we're like, oh no,
Oh yeah.
should I need to schedule this? And now there's a strategy. And all of a sudden I get so overwhelmed by that I forget the simplicity of my impact is me simply telling a story, right? Like that, it is the most actually easiest quote strategy I could have. And I completely forget all the time and then have to come back to it.
Yeah. I don't know if I have one because that happens to me a lot.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
No, you're not alone. Where I'll open up, and I do marketing, and I will open up like LinkedIn or Instagram or somebody's email, and they're talking about like, oh, you need to do like the launch trigger, and then you need to set up like the sales emails, but you want to send like t two of them for a week, like two a day for a week, and then you have to like plan ahead. And I mean, this is what I do for my clients, but also at the same time, I'm like, can we simplify? I'm getting lost in the sauce here. I'm feeling like everything is just a moment to sell, and I really want to just have a conversation. But I have to remind myself all the time too, because I'll open up like Instagram and then be inundated with like, here's how to make your reel go viral. I'm like, oh, should I try
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Should I try it? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Oh,
it.
song is trending. Should I try it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, good that I'm not alone. And also, this is where we can just remind ourselves, which is, I think, why community is so great. And again, the idea of if we can just engage and we're just
Yeah.
having these conversations to remind ourselves that no, just we can be us. We can show up and be us, whatever that
Yeah.
means, including you and your amazing YouTube channel with your documenting yourself to I don't know if you have TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not sure if you have a TikTok channel, if that's what
I
it's even
have
called.
one.
I'm totally dating myself.
I have one, but I am not like very consistent on it. I like to consume a lot of TikToks, and I'm like, wow, everybody's so creative on this app.
Which is why I think it overwhelms me because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
me too. Because I'm like, oh, this is a full-time job on top of my full-time job to create really good TikToks.
exactly. Well, where could everyone find you? Knowing that one, you are on sabbatical. Do you know when the sabbatical is ending, or is it just we'll see?
Uh, I
No
hope it's
pressure.
ending soon.
Okay.
Mainly because I didn't plan for this financially, so we didn't get the chance to talk about this. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping it's ending soon. I am looking for a turn of events, either a part-time role
Okay.
or a longer term contract. Um, something that I can like really engage in with like an organization or a small business. So hello, if you are hiring. I am
Yes.
looking.
Pitch that. Do it. Yes.
But other than that, you all can find me on Instagram. That's probably where I hang out the most. It's Cassandra TLE. If you want to watch the YouTube videos, then it's also Cassandra TLE. I am producing a new series called 30 Reinvented. So I'm excited about that. And then if you want to check out the marketing business, then it's called the Quirky Pineapple Studio on Instagram, and our website is thequirkypineapple.com.
Great. .com. Yes.
.com.
And then before we end then, because you did touch upon it, is if someone did really feel as if they needed to take an unexpected sabbatical, and that is the number one concern when taking a sabbatical often, which is what the hell do I do about money? Is there any words of love you can give someone before we part ways today?
Ooh. Yes. So I would say have a lot of self-compassion. Um, logistically, I do have savings. So I do pull from my savings when I am required to. And if you have a support system, I would say have that conversation with them. Um, like it wasn't just out of the blue that I mean, it kind of was out of the blue that I took the sabbatical, but beforehand, I did tell my partner so that one of us could bring in a stable income. And we had to have the conversation of, okay, what if this lasts longer than we both expect? Are you okay with supporting? are you okay with like contributing more for the house or groceries and things like that? And what can I do on a more equitable level to show up for the relationship if I can't put in money? That for me was like maybe doing more things at home, or planning more because like my partner couldn't because he was just so busy. So have that conversation with your support system if you have somebody or like your family or partner or something. I think that's really important.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing those. That's very
Yeah.
helpful. I think folks will, there might be a huge trend now in my community of folks taking some
Sabbaticals.
sabbaticals.
Oh gosh. I hope that if you all take sabbaticals, I hope they are financially planned for and filled with lots of joy and play, time and space to explore. And that you all find whatever you are looking for in your sabbatical.
Absolutely. And words of encouragement for those who may need only a little bit. In my month sabbatical, I did wonder if I was going to financially be okay. And to be honest, me not being in the business actually allowed the business breath to grow more than I thought it was going to. And so it was actually very healthy for my business. So just putting that in there. I don't know what if it was if that would happen more than the month that I took, but I was able to feel totally fine with my finances and even better for it. So just going to put that just from
That's
my
amazing.
limited experience.
Yeah, I mean, mine was, yeah, I'm going on 9 months. So it's a long time.
Yeah. But what I learned is what you were saying, which is to build some systems in place
Yeah.
so that it didn't have to be me all in order for it to happen. And so from
Yes.
that is what I've now been really devoted to for myself. For my own health is how can I have a growing business but not be always all in? And so that's
Yeah.
been my learning and growth.
Oh, I totally agree with that. On both like the business and the personal side, I feel like I had to really develop. I know we're about to hop off, but I do feel like this time away not only helped me to build systems for the business or like reconfigure them, but it really gave me the time and space to think about how systems play in my personal life. And systems is very technical, but basically routines. What routines do I need in my life that can support me to show up in like the best version of myself? And that could be a morning routine, that could be a workout routine, it could be like a laundry day, meal prepping. Like all of those were things that I started putting into place during my sabbatical.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, in preparation for who knows what's to come. So you
Yeah.
might as well create those new ways of being and doing for that time. I love it. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to see what happens, Cassandra.
Thanks. Me too. We'll see. No idea.
Amazing. Stay in that unknown. It's great.
Yes. Magic.
I'll keep following your journey. Thank you so
Okay.
much for being with us
Thank
today.
you so much, Sora.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
It is a blessing to serve you. My deepest desire is to bring nourishment to your soul, activate and enliven your inner landscape, and find inspiration through the sacred stories of others and myself so we remember we are collectively woven. If you would like to learn more about mysticism, spiritual devotion, magic and intuition, sacred leadership, business practices, and devoted energy coaching, please make sure you subscribe to Devoted Way podcast. As I continue to serve, may I humbly ask for a sacred exchange. I would be so appreciative if you would write a love note, otherwise known as a review. Share the episode with your friends and community members, and engage with me on Instagram at Devoted Way. If you have any questions you desire to be answered on Devoted Way podcast, please head over to devotedway.com and send me an email. Stay sacred and discover your path and join the Devoted Way. May magic and miracles occur in your life every day as you co-create a synchronistic new world with the Great Mother. Until next time, this is Sora Schilling.